gentlemen, and tarnished of all ages, how do you feel about being a ridiculously tanky cannon? That's right, not a glass cannon, not one of those piddly little people with no health that do lots of damage, but someone with loads of health, loads of armor, life steal, and still lots of damage. Well, if you like the sound of that, then you are absolutely in the correct place, because today we're going to have another look at Blood Tax, a special Ash of War that is notable for two main reasons. It applies status quite quickly, as it is an attack with 4 thrusts within its combo, and it also heals you when you hit with it for a reasonable amount. To make this work as well as possible, we also wanted to maximize the tankiness while still reaching all the relevant soft caps for attributes to make the damage still nice and meaty, and the result is just nasty, in the best of ways, of course. In PvE, this thing will let you ignore more boss attacks than you actually have to react to. Dodging does still matter, of course, but if you get hit on occasion, it just won't do a whole lot. You will rarely need to drink a flask just due to the innate healing of your main ability. It just chunks through boss's health while keeping you in a good position yourself. When it comes to PvP, this thing can get genuinely mean. The armor that we are using has really high poise. The weapon itself does pretty good damage even just with the weapon hits itself, not even including the Ash of War. And the way that we are built also lets us take advantage of certain incantations with particularly high scaling to match the theme of what we are doing as well. Most notably though, Blood Tax itself will just instantly kill a player if all of the hits land. It does a ton of damage and also procs a bleed, more than enough to kill anyone naive enough to stand within its path. And so the Blood Tax is paid, and obviously if anyone dodges the attack, it's
tax evasion.
One last thing to note about why this is better now than it has ever been before is the changes done to this Ash of War in patch 1.07. It increased the motion speed of the attack, it made the damage higher, it made the lifesteal higher, and it also made it more spammable. But when I say it made the motion speed faster, actually look at this. Watch this difference. That is significantly faster on the startup of the animation, which makes it way easier to use in pretty much any situation. So how does this all come together then? What do we use to make it absolutely sing? Well, there are a number of acceptable weapon choices for this, so you can mess around with it if you want, but the best one that I found was the Vulgar Malicious Saw, specifically because of the way that its scaling works, its long reach, and most importantly, its innate natural bleed buildup. With that, we apply the Ash of War and give it occult scaling, and as a result, both the bleed status buildup on the weapon and the damage itself of the weapon will scale with our arcane stat, which with this weapon actually does pretty well. From here, you already have an incredibly strong combo if you use it correctly, but of course, as this is based around a bleed attack that has multiple hits, there are tons of ways to buff it out the wazoo. As for where to find the weapon, it is a drop that you can get from killing any of the Vulgar Militia enemies that wield it outside of the Bestial Sanctum in Caelid. And the Blood Tax itself, the Ash of War, is dropped by a beetle found in a cave at this location in the Lake of Blood. Then of course, as this is a bleed build at its core, we are using the White Mask Helmet for 10% bonus attack power for 20 seconds after a bleed is applied near you, and then also the Lord of Blood's Exaltation Talisman for a 20% damage bonus under the same circumstances. The mask and the set that it belongs to can be found by killing the White Mask Invader who spawns at the most southern edge of the Lake of Blood in the Mohgwyn area before you kill Mohg himself, and the talisman is dropped by the boss at the end of the Lanedell Catacombs dungeon, which you can find in the sewers under Lanedell. As for the rest of your armor set, just use the heaviest thing that you are capable of wearing. We want to absolutely stack the hell out of both damage negation and poise, so a great contender is the Bulgos armor set, which you get from Patch's assassination quests in Volcano Manor. As for the rest of the talismans then, we are also using the Shard of Alexander, of course. After all, the main star of the show here is a weapon skill, and this talisman makes it do 15% more damage. To get this for yourself, you need to complete a 3-step questline. First, talk to Alexander in the desert where you fight Radon, then find him again in the lava pools to the west of the Seethwater Terminus site of Grace on Mount Gelmir, and then one final time in Crumbling Fair Missoula by the Dragon Temple Lift site of Grace. After that, we have the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia, which boosts the damage of successive hits, mostly affecting the final hit in our Ash of War's combo, but it is a nice damage bump nonetheless. To get this one, you have to do the Millicent questline, which you can start at the Church of the Plague in Eastern Caelid, and you get it after choosing the assist option at the very end of said questline. Then finally, because we want this build to be super tanky to make proper use of the healing mechanic, we are going to use the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman for a big bump in our physical damage negation. To get this for yourself, head to the Drainage Channel site of Grace, out the exit to the east, and follow this path along the branch branches and pillars until you reach the roof of the building in front of you. Once there, drop down the hole and progress along the wooden beams to get to the chest that is on the balcony you can see from the top, which holds this talisman. Then we move on to the Flask of Wondrous Physic, in which you should have the Thorny Cracked Tier, boosting the damage of successive attacks once again to boost the final hit of the weapon skill combo, and this can be acquired by defeating the boss located at the minor air tree on the northeast side of the consecrated snowfields. In your other slot, I recommend one of two choices depending on the encounter. Either the Leaden Hard tier to give you a ton of bonus poise for a short duration after drinking, this can let you burst down an enemy real fast for the first 10 to 15 seconds of a fight, or alternatively the Crimsonburst Crystal tier, which just gives you slow constant HP regen over time. Then finally for your equipment, you'll want the Dragon Communion seal specifically, as this scales with arcane, and we have some incantations to be casting. To get this seal, fight your way through the Fringe Folk Hero's Grave dungeon, right beside the Stranded Graveyard Site of Grace at the start of the game.
Back to the beginning.
And with that seal, we of course have the incantations we'll be using. Of course, the first two are what you may expect, the same things that you'll find in the vast majority of builds in Elden Ring: Golden Vow, which raises your attack power by 15% and your damage negation by 10% for 90 seconds, and then also Flame Grant Me Strength, which raises your physical and fire attack power by 20% for 30 seconds. Golden Vow is found in the Corpse Stench Shack on the eastern side of Mount Gelmir, and Flame Grant Me Strength is located behind Fort Gale on the western side of Caelid between a couple of fiery wagons. As well, it's not a bad idea to use any or all of the blood-based incantations. They all cause bleed, which can activate our buffs and therefore works into our build synergistically, and our scaling with the seal that we are using is pretty high due to it working with arcane. The only thing to be careful with here is your FP, as we don't really put any bonus points into that attribute at any point. On that note, it's a good time to talk about attributes as a whole. You absolutely want to hit 60 vigor with this build for a good amount of health, with your next goal being 50 arcane, a soft cap for the weapon skill damage itself. You also want 25 faith for the use of our buffing incantations, 15 strength and 13 dexterity are the requirements to use the weapon itself, and then 46 endurance is the exact amount that you need to use all of our equipment set up today. Any remaining points should be spent getting arcane to 60 for a soft cap to weapon damage itself, and then if you have anything further, you put that into mind so your FP pool can grow just a little bit bigger. And that's everything. All you need to acquire and all you need to know to become an absolute bloody tank of a tax collector. Walk up to your enemy, thrust at them a bunch of times, reduce their health, increase your health, victory acquired, no questions asked. I hope you enjoyed this build, and I hope you enjoy using it if you make it for yourself. It is quite a bit of fun to use. Like if you like the video, subscribe to the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet. Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.